I was a tall, rich, and handsome heir, while Juliet was a beautiful, wealthy heiress. Ours was the perfect marriage alliance between two equally matched families. Juliet carried herself with an air of detached elegance, graceful and refined like a flower untouched by the mundane world. But she fell in love with a poor boy and wanted to break off our engagement. I tried to persuade her. The Kim family is facing a financial crisis, and your parents' health isn't good either. Why don't we get engaged first and stabilize the company's stock price before talking about anything else? Juliet Kim accepted my proposal, but the poor boy slit his wrists for her. He stayed in the ICU for 3 days and 3 nights. After waking up, he completely cut ties with Juliet and left for another country. Our wedding went on as scheduled, but Juliet hated me for the rest of her life. Later, we were caught in an avalanche during an outdoor trip. At the very last moment of her life, Juliet begged me, "In the next life, please stop clinging to me. Let's not be husband and wife ever again." When I opened my eyes again, I had somehow returned to the year of our engagement. I smiled. This time, I would let go of my obsession and respect other people's choices. I would help her and that poor boy be together, and let them face the consequences of their own decisions. Chapter 1. After graduating from college, my family held a celebration banquet for me. On the surface, it was a graduation party, but in reality, it was a matchmaking event. When my parents were young, they founded a tech company together. After my father passed away, my mother carried the company on her shoulders and eventually turned it into the leading enterprise in the region. I was the only son and the sole heir of the family, so naturally, countless people wanted to attach themselves to me. Tonight, all the elites of the industry and wealthy socialites had gathered here, but the person my mother admired most was still Juliet. She valued Juliet because she truly was exceptional. Juliet had inherited her mother's beauty. She was gentle and stunning, with a graceful figure and elegant manners, the kind of woman countless people considered a goddess. We had attended the same middle school before, but she was in the elite honors class, while I was one of the school's notorious underachievers, stuck in the worst class. Back then, not only did she excel academically, but she was also talented in the arts. She was one of the school's shining stars. At every school anniversary gala, she either sang, danced, or hosted the event. Her photo was permanently displayed on the student council wall. She was completely different from rich second-generation kids like us who wasted our days fooling around. She was the ideal type in many people's hearts, including mine. But during high school, we never crossed paths. She stood far above the rest and would never spare me a second glance. Back then, just seeing her from afar on the sports field was enough to make my heartbeat race. She perfectly matched every boy's fantasy of a princess, a top student, and a goddess all rolled into one. Later, I entered an ordinary university, while Juliet went abroad to study. It wasn't until this banquet that we truly met for the first time. At the party, Juliet received constant attention from the elders and was seated at my mother's table. All the aunties and relatives smiled eagerly as they tried to matchmake us. They said, "Charles, you and Juliet are such a perfect match. A talented man and a beautiful woman, truly made for each other. You even look like a married couple already." Someone else chimed in, "Exactly, you two are the same age, right? I heard your families even arranged a childhood engagement when you were born." Even my mother looked at me affectionately, encouraging me with her eyes to get closer to Juliet. Looking at the lively and harmonious scene before me, I felt an overwhelming sense of familiarity, followed by a sudden wave of dizziness. Chapter 2. I suddenly remembered how I had answered in my previous life. Back then, we sat face to face at the dinner table, with beautiful roses placed between us. Juliet was graceful and perfectly poised. She smiled at me gently, and I fell for her even harder. I never imagined that after so many years, after graduation, I would meet the goddess of my youth again. At the time, I had taken the initiative and said, if there really was a childhood engagement, then as the man, I should naturally take responsibility for it. As for everything else, we can leave the decision to our parents. The moment I said that, the whole room became lively with joy. Everyone thought the match was basically settled and destined for a perfect ending. Most importantly, Juliet didn't seem to object either. So, with both families pushing things along, our marriage progressed quickly. But the reason Juliet didn't object was because she lived by her own 3 no principles. Don't initiate, don't refuse, and don't take responsibility. She had naturally affectionate eyes. Even if she looked at a stray dog, it would seem as though she were gazing at a lover with deep emotion. What I didn't know was that while she was on a blind date with me, there was already a puppy boy by her side, a devoted simp who treated her like the center of his world. We should have been a loving couple, but because of that puppy boy, we went from husband and wife to bitter enemies. In my previous life, even until the very end, when we were buried in that avalanche, she still hated me. She said she regretted meeting me, regretted going on that blind date with me, and regretted marrying me. So in this life, I decided to let her have what she wanted and stop myself from repeating the same mistakes. Facing the hopeful gazes of our relatives and family friends, I casually put down my wine glass while keeping the careless, playboy attitude expected of a rich second-generation heir. I laughed and said, "A childhood engagement? Isn't that outdated? The Wu family works in tech. I'm not interested in the real estate business." And Mom, seriously, you're being way too random. Why are you introducing just any woman to me? My words made my position crystal clear. I was rejecting her. Everyone at the table froze. The Kim family was one of the most powerful families in the city. They were giants in the real estate industry, and many of the city's luxury residential districts belonged to them. Not to mention that Juliet Kim herself was stunningly beautiful. Countless rich heirs couldn't even get close to her. Yet I rejected her so casually that even my mother looked surprised. Still, my mother respected my wishes and said nothing more. The aunties and relatives immediately changed their tune after seeing me refuse and noticing that my mother didn't object. They quickly started flattering me instead, saying that I was still young and that men should focus on building their careers before starting a family. Only Juliet stared blankly at me, her expression filled with shock and confusion. It was the first time in her life that someone had rejected her so openly. A wealthy princess like her had never experienced such embarrassment before. Throughout the banquet, she kept changing seats, and in the end, she found an excuse to leave early. After the banquet, my mother sat down to talk with me. "Charles, didn't you used to like Juliet a lot? Today I finally introduced you two properly. So why did you reject her outright? That must have been humiliating for her." I denied it immediately. "Mom, stop playing matchmaker. Since when did I ever like her? I'm not interested in her at all." My mother smiled knowingly. "If you didn't like her, then why did you secretly give her that crystal necklace back in high school?" I exploded in embarrassment. "Mom, who told you about that?" Unfortunately, she was telling the truth. That really was one of the darkest moments of my teenage history, and there was absolutely no way for me to deny it. Chapter 3. After graduating from senior year of high school, Juliet was preparing to study abroad. I was afraid I would never get another chance, so I wanted to confess my feelings to her. I once heard her say that her favorite thing in the world was crystal, because crystals were pure, clear, and transparent. So I stayed up all night drawing design sketches and specially ordered a handmade crystal necklace from a niche overseas brand. During her class's PE period, I quietly placed the necklace on Juliet's desk. Later, I pretended to casually walk past the classroom, only to find her entire class laughing at the gift I had given her. Seriously, a heart-shaped pendant. The design is so tacky. I've never even heard of this brand. So cheap. Who gave it to her? He can't even afford a diamond. And he still dares to confess to Miss Kim. I didn't care about their ridicule. Not until I heard Juliet herself sneer. "Well, it's obviously not anything valuable. My family owns things way better than this. Still, I guess it's better than nothing." My heart slowly turned cold. From that day on, I buried all my feelings for her deep inside. At this moment, facing my mother's teasing, I sighed helplessly. Mom, who hasn't been young and stupid before, who hasn't acted impulsively or fallen for a few toxic girls, that's all in the past now. I don't like Juliet anymore, and there's absolutely no way I'm marrying her. Yes, in this lifetime, I would absolutely never marry her. My mother laughed. All right, if you don't want to marry her, then don't. You can just stay a spoiled rich young master. Your mother can afford to support you for the rest of your life. Then she added, "But now that you've graduated, what are your plans? Why not come help at the company and learn how the business works?" Actually, I already had plans for my future. In my previous life, Juliet was an extremely insecure person, but she was also fiercely ambitious. She always said she didn't lack money, what she lacked was love and validation. Because of that, she hated seeing me socialize for business. She wanted me to give up my career and focus solely on providing emotional support for her. Meanwhile, Juliet attended endless galas and business networking events, eventually becoming a famous businesswoman within elite circles. As for me, I revolved entirely around her and became the man behind the successful woman. I rarely went to the company anymore, and I almost completely stopped learning new things. Looking back now, all I feel is regret. So this time, I wanted to pursue graduate studies abroad and continue my education. When my mother first heard this, she was against it. She worried that I would suffer overseas. But the moment she heard that I planned to major in computer science, her expression immediately softened with relief. "My child, you've finally grown up. You actually want to help your mother shoulder the business now." Her eyes turned slightly red, and my nose suddenly stung with emotion. In my previous life, I had practically handed over all of the company's shares, and even its business secrets, to my father-in-law and mother-in-law's family without reservation. Juliet Kim used those trade secrets to help the Kim family slowly devour our company piece by piece. In the end, I lost both my fortune and my future, and even my life. Back then, my mother had to bury her own son in her old age. How heartbroken and hopeless must she have been? Fortunately, this life had started over from the beginning, and thankfully, it still wasn't too late. Chapter 4. A month later, while I was studying at home for my exams, one of my younger cousins came to visit me. The moment he walked in, he immediately started gossiping about the latest drama in our social circle. He said, "Charles, rejecting the Kim family's princess last time was seriously the smartest thing you've ever done." I frowned. "You mean Juliet? What happened to her?" My cousin sneered. "That idiot Juliet has been dating some poor nobody from their company lately. Her dad and older brother are furious." Almost instinctively, I blurted out, "A poor guy, Luciano?" My cousin looked surprised. "Bro, how do you even know someone as insignificant as him?" I brushed it off casually. "I don't. I just heard people mention him before." In reality, the first time I ever heard the name Luciano was in my previous life, on the night of my engagement to Juliet. That night, Juliet got drunk, and I stayed by her side taking care of her the entire time. In her sleep, she kept mumbling one name over and over again, Luciano. The next day, I investigated and discovered that she had fallen for a poor employee at the company and wanted to break off our engagement because of him. It hurt deeply, but I truly loved her, and I still wanted to fight for our relationship. So I proposed a compromise to Juliet. "The real estate market is declining right now, and your parents' health isn't good. The Kim family has also been struggling with debt problems for years. Why don't we continue the engagement for now? Our families can join forces to stabilize the stock price, and once your family gets through this crisis, we can talk again." Juliet agreed, but she hid our engagement from Luciano. After Luciano found out, he slit his wrists to prove he was some kind of tragic hopeless romantic. Although he survived in the end, the incident became Juliet's lifelong regret. Later, our wedding proceeded smoothly as planned, and because of that, Juliet hated me for the rest of her life. My cousin, unaware of the full story, continued gossiping anyway. "That pretty boy Luciano is nothing but a gold digger. He acts like some artsy intellectual, but he's really just a broke loser. He does absolutely nothing at work and spends all day flattering Juliet like a simp." Once, the two of them were doing performance art in the office. Bang bang bang, playing poker. When old Master Kim caught them red-handed, the old man was furious and fired Luciano on the spot. He even threatened that if Juliet refused to break up with him, he'd disown her completely. Even I found the whole thing unbelievable. "I never expected Juliet would do something so reckless," I said. "Is old Master Kim really that extreme? He's already old. If his daughter wants to marry someone, is he seriously going to play the villainous parent breaking lovers apart?" My cousin snorted. "That's because you don't know the real story. Juliet Kim is actually old Master Kim's illegitimate daughter. The Kim family raised her specifically to marry into another powerful family. If Luciano were at least some rich heir, maybe there'd still be room for negotiation. But right now the Kim family desperately needs money. There's no way they'd ever let Juliet marry him. Forget marriage, even becoming a live-in son-in-law would be impossible." That part, I already knew. Before getting married, Juliet looked glamorous on the surface as the Kim family's princess, but in reality, she had always been suppressed by her older brother and held no real power inside the company. Rumor had it that while his legal wife was still alive, old Master Kim had already been having an affair with Juliet's mother. When the original wife discovered that her husband secretly had another woman and daughter outside the marriage, she slowly wasted away from heartbreak and anger. And her son, the Kim family's eldest heir and Juliet's older brother, naturally hated Juliet and her mother with a passion. Because of that, Juliet's mother, as the second wife, never held much status within the family. She constantly lived cautiously, always afraid of being looked down upon. She was especially strict with Juliet's upbringing, hoping her daughter could marry into a truly powerful family and elevate both of their positions. And our Wu family was the perfect golden ticket. Only by marrying into the Wu family and having our family publicly support the Kims could they truly stabilize their collapsing situation. But fate had other plans. Juliet unexpectedly fell deeply in love with a poor nobody, a perfectly good cabbage, ruined by a pig. And among the rich, handsome heirs in our social circle, which one of them wasn't arrogant and prideful? Naturally, none of them wanted to become the guy left cleaning up someone else's mess. Once Juliet lost her value as a marriage alliance candidate, her position within the Kim family only became even more miserable. Chapter 5. Juliet seemed to sense the crisis surrounding her, because she actually took the initiative to approach me. Through mutual connections in our social circle, she indirectly invited me out for coffee, saying she wanted to catch up with an old schoolmate. When I heard the news, I wasn't surprised at all. If anything, I felt slightly disappointed. She already had her puppy boy by her side, yet she still came looking for me. Clearly, this wasn't truly her own intention, it was pressure from the Kim family. In the end, it was still all about money. Since she wanted love, dignity, and financial security all at once, then I would help her make her choice. I would give her one final push toward her puppy boy. Honestly, I was curious how long love without money could actually last. So, I showed up at the restaurant as promised. Unexpectedly, after we met, Juliet took out a crystal necklace. I recognized it instantly. It was the necklace I had secretly given her back in senior year of high school. Hello, Charles. I only found out later that you were actually my high school schoolmate too. Juliet deliberately started the conversation first, but there was still a trace of arrogance in her tone, as though she were the one granting me a favor. That feeling was far too familiar to me. This was how she always treated her admirers. On the surface, she looked polite and refined, but underneath, she was cold, proud, and distant. In my previous life, the more arrogantly she treated me, the more obsessed I became with wanting to conquer her. She stood high above everyone else, enjoying my affection, enjoying everything I sacrificed for her, and eventually even taking away my family's resources. But today, although she still carried herself arrogantly, there was now an extra hint of forced sweetness in her attitude. Before coming here, Juliet had obviously spent a long time dressing up carefully. She wore that deceptively natural makeup style that looked effortless while actually being full of calculated charm. Her outfit was deliberately styled like her student days, a white shirt and a short skirt. Her legs were long and slender, and several buttons on her shirt had been intentionally left undone, faintly revealing her graceful curves. But what she didn't know was that over the years, I had seen countless girls dressed this way around me. I had long since grown used to it. What truly moved me had never been appearance alone. So seeing her act so deliberately seductive today only made me feel strangely numb. I didn't want to stay there for even a second longer, so I spoke bluntly. Juliet, even though we went to the same school, we barely interacted back then. There's really no need for small talk. If you came for something, just say it directly. She clearly didn't expect me to be so straightforward. The fake shyness and polite atmosphere instantly disappeared. A trace of irritation crossed her face, and she returned to that superior, untouchable attitude of hers. Charles, I'll be honest with you. You've probably already heard that I have a boyfriend now. There's no way I'm marrying you. But business is business. Your family runs a company, and so does mine. We can be realistic and become mutually beneficial business partners. I smiled faintly. And what exactly does this mutually beneficial partnership look like? She replied calmly. I hope you can persuade your mother to invest in the Kim family's new real estate project. I almost laughed at the irony. So after all that talking, what you really want is still my mother's money. Sorry, but my mother may be rich. She's not stupid. The Kim family is drowning in debt right now. We're not relatives, and there's no benefit for us. Why exactly should we help your family? Juliet fell silent for a moment. She probably hadn't expected me to see through everything so clearly. With obvious disgust in her eyes, she said, Charles, I know exactly what kind of benefit you want. In the end, all you want is me. She had completely misunderstood what I meant by benefit. Then she continued, don't worry, as long as your family invests, we can get married first. We can even sign a prenuptial agreement. I deliberately asked. And what about your little boyfriend? Juliet answered without hesitation. Luciano is a very gentle and understanding person. He'll understand my difficulties. I mocked her openly. Miss Kim, you really know how to play people. But why should I become the backup guy cleaning up your mess? Hearing me ridicule her like that, her expression darkened immediately. Charles, what exactly do you mean by that? Weren't you always in love with me? Didn't you always want to marry me? Otherwise, why did you give me that crystal necklace back in high school? I froze. How did you know that necklace was from me? Juliet lowered her eyes. Actually, when you came to leave the necklace that day, I saw you. So she had known all along. She knew the crystal necklace came from me. And yet, back then, she still chose to mock me and indulge in the vanity of being admired. The crystal necklace on the table was beautiful, but at this moment, it looked unbearably glaring. The feelings I once had for her suddenly seemed unbelievably cheap. Chapter 6. I picked up the necklace from the table and shook my head. Juliet, you misunderstood. Back then, I only bought this necklace for fun. Juliet froze. What do you mean? With a careless grin, I replied. Well, I lost a game of truth or dare. My friends forced me to buy a necklace and confess to some top female student. So I just picked you. I honestly didn't expect you to keep it for so many years. If it gave you the wrong idea, then I'm sorry. That's impossible. Juliet looked utterly shocked. The admiration she had always taken pride in had apparently only been a joke. Now that it's back in my hands, I can do whatever I want with it. As I spoke, I waved over a young waitress. Casually, I handed the necklace to her. Miss, this necklace is for you. Think of it as a little tip. The waitress stared at it in disbelief, completely surprised and delighted. She looked as happy as if she had just received a diamond necklace and thanked me repeatedly. My attitude clearly humiliated Juliet. She snapped angrily. Charles, first you rejected me, And now you're mocking me. You're only acting like this because my family is going through hard times right now. You just want to kick us while we're down. You're exactly the kind of person who worships money and looks down on the poor. No wonder I never liked you back then. I replied coldly. No matter what you think of me, at least I don't date two people at the same time. I don't cling to one person while secretly eyeing someone else. Juliet immediately understood that I was referring to her relationship with Luciano. Furious, she retorted. I'm not two-timing anyone. The person I love is Luciano. I'll never leave him in this lifetime. I deliberately provoked her further. Oh, sounds like you two are deeply in love, but your parents probably won't agree to your marriage, considering your families are worlds apart. Just as expected, Juliet immediately argued against me out of spite. That's none of your business. My parents can't control me. My love life is my own decision. Then she raised her chin proudly. Luciano is 100 times better than you. He's artistic, sensitive, and talented. He's a real poet. I'm definitely going to marry him. I smiled lightly. All right. He's better than me. A romantic artsy guy like that is rare these days. So don't let him down. I wish the two of you a lifetime of happiness and lots of children. I had to admit, my blessing turned out to be surprisingly effective. A month later, Juliet and Luciano actually got married. Rumor had it that Juliet secretly stole the family household registration book and, ignoring all opposition from her family, registered her marriage with Luciano. When Juliet's father found out, he was absolutely furious. The pretty boy he despised most had stolen away his daughter, and even legally married her. Old Master Kim cursed Juliet viciously, but Juliet was stubborn too. She simply resigned from the company and moved out of the Kim family home entirely. She and Luciano ended up living together in a cheap rental apartment. That very night, the old man became so enraged that he suffered a stroke and was hospitalized. The entire Kim family became the laughingstock of high society overnight. Chapter 7. After hearing all the gossip, I still stayed focused on my own life and continued preparing for graduate school exams. My mother worried that I would become too bored staying at home all day, so she arranged a casual position for me at the company. Officially, I worked as an assistant and sat in on meetings of all sizes. Although I had majored in computer science in college, most of what I learned was only superficial knowledge. Once I entered the real business world and joined the company, I realized how rapidly technology evolved. The slightest moment of complacency could allow competitors to surpass you. After participating in the family business as the chairman's assistant, even more people started trying to flatter and approach me. During the Dragon Boat Festival, I finally gave in to my cousin's relentless pestering and attended a rich second-generation heir's birthday party. A group of old classmates and longtime friends gathered together, drinking, singing, and having fun. Unexpectedly, Juliet also appeared at the party. Ever since she married Luciano, the poor artsy guy, she had rarely shown up in wealthy social circles anymore. She always seemed to look down on hanging out with fair-weather rich kids like us. But tonight, she came alone. The moment Juliet saw me, she visibly froze, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't bring herself to speak. I didn't take the initiative to greet her. I deliberately ignored her and continued chatting with the people around me. After a while, she probably found the atmosphere uncomfortable and quietly slipped out through the side entrance. My cousin found it strange. Wasn't she always super arrogant before? Why does she suddenly look so depressed today? The other rich heirs immediately began gossiping all at once. You mean Juliet? She already divorced that broke loser Luciano? I asked in surprise. How did they end up divorcing? It's only been a few months. Weren't they passionately in love back then? One of the rich kids laughed mockingly. What passionate love? That guy Luciano only seduced Juliet because he wanted her rich heiress status. But who could have expected Juliet to abandon her wealthy lifestyle for love? She left the Kim family with absolutely nothing. No money, no cars, no property. I heard Luciano's face turned green the moment he realized she walked away broke. Another person chimed in. And right now, they're still renting some cheap apartment. Luciano refuses to work and just stays home writing poetry every day. But Juliet was raised as a rich princess. She looks down on low-paying jobs, while high-paying positions don't want her. Their daily living expenses became a huge problem. Poor couples struggle with everything. Later, they started fighting constantly. Not long ago, Juliet got pregnant and wanted Luciano to go find a real job. But Luciano was secretly flirting with wealthy older women online instead. He even went out to meet one in person. Juliet went looking for him, accidentally fell down during the argument, and miscarried. After that huge disaster, divorce was inevitable. I took a deep breath. Although I already knew Juliet and Luciano wouldn't end well together, I never expected their relationship to collapse so quickly. I did feel sorry for Juliet, but in the end, everyone had to take responsibility for their own choices. I casually remarked, since they're divorced, she should just treat it like getting bitten by a stray dog and return to the Kim family. Someone beside me immediately shook his head. Bro, You're too naive. After old Master Kim got hospitalized, he completely stepped down behind the scenes. The Kim family isn't controlled by him anymore, it's controlled by Juliet's older brother now. And Juliet's older brother was a ruthless man. He had absolutely no affection for his illegitimate younger sister. He directly removed Juliet from the company through shares, job positions, and even the family registry itself. The only thing he left for the old man was money for hospital expenses. Even the stepmother received nothing. If Juliet's mother wanted access to any money at all, she had to personally care for old Master Kim like a nurse, feeding him, cleaning him, and taking care of him until death. As for Juliet Kim, other than still carrying the surname Kim, she was basically no longer part of the Kim family anymore. To be fair, there was history behind all this. Back then, old Master Kim's original wife, the biological mother of Juliet's older brother, had developed cancer, and many people believed it was because she was driven into despair by Juliet's mother. Rumor had it that on the very day Juliet was born, the original wife's condition suddenly worsened, and she passed away that same day. Now, seeing Juliet's older brother take revenge on Juliet and her mother almost seemed understandable. After hearing all this, I could only sigh emotionally. If Juliet truly wanted to earn money, she could have humbled herself, switched industries, and worked as an ordinary secretary or administrative employee at a normal company, but she didn't. She still chose to cling to her pride and arrogance, and if that was her choice, then what else could I possibly say? All I could do was respect her decision and wish her well. Chapter 8. On my side, not only was work going smoothly, but my graduate school applications were progressing very well too. I applied to universities overseas. Thanks to my mother's wide network of connections, getting recommendation letters was easy. As for English, I had started learning early and already had a strong foundation. So by October, I successfully passed the IELTS exam. At the end of the year, I finally received good news. I had passed the selection process for the University of Pennsylvania and received my admission letter. Everyone was happy for me, especially my mother. The moment she found out, she was so emotional that tears streamed down her face. Whenever she attended family gatherings or business banquets afterward, she couldn't resist bragging about her precious son. During the next 2 months, I mostly stayed at home preparing for my studies abroad and rarely went out. My mother worried that once I moved overseas, I would lose contact with relatives, so she encouraged me to attend more family gatherings before leaving. Unexpectedly, at one of those gatherings hosted by an elder relative, I ran into someone familiar again, Luciano. He had come together with one of my distant aunts. This aunt of mine was nearly 50 years old. After my uncle passed away, he left her a massive inheritance. She was a textbook wealthy socialite, rich, extravagant, and well-fed. She was also extremely open-minded and loved spending time at exclusive clubs. Rumor had it she kept several puppy boys and toy boys around her at all times. But I never imagined that recently, she and Luciano had become especially close. According to the relatives gossiping nearby, the two met at a private club. One had money, while the other had youth and charm. So naturally, sparks flew quickly. Within less than a week, they officially started dating. Internally, I almost laughed. What kind of relationship was this? It was obviously a sugar mommy arrangement. Back when Luciano pursued Juliet, he always acted like some noble intellectual artist devoted to pure love. In my previous life, he clung endlessly to my wife, and in this life, he was now clinging to my aunt instead. Seriously, the guy was like a ghost that refused to disappear. The moment Luciano saw me, he immediately became nervous after realizing I was the eldest young master of the family. He was clearly afraid I might expose his past relationship with Juliet. Pretending not to know me, he enthusiastically tried to get close to me. Young Master Charles. Hello, I'm Luciano. I heard you're going to study in America soon. That's really impressive, congratulations. I barely acknowledged him. I simply couldn't force myself to exchange fake pleasantries while looking at that face. All I felt toward him was hatred and disgust. In my previous life, Juliet had even used Luciano's photo as her phone wallpaper, mourning the lost love and youth she once had with him every single day. So now, every time I saw his face, I felt physically sick. I could never forget what happened during the 3rd year of our marriage. Originally, Juliet was supposed to accompany me to my mother's house for New Year's celebrations, but after hearing that Luciano had gotten married, she suddenly insisted on going mountain climbing in Finland instead. Then, on the snowy mountain, we encountered a violent storm and an avalanche. Juliet deliberately threw away my protective gear and climbing pole, causing both of us to freeze to death. Right before we died, she looked at me with hatred and said she was doing this to mourn the love between her and Luciano. She hated me for her entire life and wished we would never become husband and wife again in the next one. Just thinking about those memories made me deeply uncomfortable. My cousin seemed to notice how much I despised Luciano, Since he also knew about Luciano and Juliet's past relationship, he immediately stood up for me. In front of all the relatives, he suddenly sneered. Well, look who it is. Isn't this Luciano, the cheating ex-husband of Juliet, living off rich women, sleeping with a wealthy heiress, and even causing her miscarriage? Then my cousin warned my aunt. Auntie, you seriously shouldn't let this guy fool you. All the relatives froze and cautiously observed my expression. Most of them depended on our company in one way or another. They would rather offend Luciano than offend me. The moment my aunt heard the story, she exploded in anger and slapped Luciano across the face. She spat furiously. You little liar. You wrote me all those love poems every day. Didn't you say you were a virgin who'd never dated before and that it was love at first sight with me? How dare you lie to me? I was speechless. Only my rich but gullible aunt would actually believe a line like that. Luciano's eyes instantly filled with tears as he tried to manipulate her emotionally. Big sister, how can you doubt me? If you truly loved me, why would you care about what other people think? That kind of emotional manipulation may have worked on Juliet before, but it was completely ineffective on my aunt. After all, what my aunt liked was his supposedly pure and untouched body, not his personality. But now that he was no longer pure, she immediately lost interest. Without hesitation, she called security and had him thrown out. After Luciano left, my aunt said disdainfully, "Those kinds of puppy boys are everywhere in the clubs. She's really treating an enoki mushroom like a treasure." Chapter 9. Everyone burst into laughter. A few days later, my aunt filed a complaint against the club, accusing Luciano of emotional fraud. As a result, Luciano was fired from the club and completely ruined his reputation within that social circle. Unable to charm wealthy women anymore and no longer capable of surviving as a gold digger, he could only leave town in disgrace. Later, I heard that he tried seducing another rich woman, only to get one of his legs broken by her husband. For the rest of his life, he could only rely on a wheelchair. A month later, carrying an entirely new mindset, I boarded a flight to the United States. At the airport, my mother cried nonstop. She was proud of me, but also worried that I wouldn't adapt well to life abroad. Among the crowd of people seeing me off, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Juliet. She seemed like she wanted to walk toward me, but seeing how surrounded and celebrated I was, she froze in place instead. I never looked at her again. Before boarding the plane, I changed my phone number, deleted every way Juliet could contact me, and completely erased her from my life. During the following years, I pursued my graduate studies at the University of Pennsylvania while participating in artificial intelligence research projects. My team and I collaborated with many technology companies and earned a considerable amount of money. Even without relying on my family's support, I achieved financial freedom on my own. While studying there, I also met an incredibly beautiful girlfriend. She was young, decisive, energetic, and radiant like the sun itself, warm, passionate, and full of positivity toward me. Being with her felt effortless and comforting. Before long, we became engaged. After graduation, I originally planned to remain in the United States, but considering that my mother was getting older, I eventually decided to return home. My fiancée fully supported my decision. She willingly gave up her work and studies abroad to come back with me. After I returned home, my mother was overjoyed. She trusted me completely and handed over control of the company to me, choosing to remain behind the scenes as the guiding force. In my previous life, I emptied my family's resources and handed everything over to the Kim family. Later, after my mother and I both died, her wealth was divided up completely by the Kims. But this time, no one would bully my mother again. No one would dare target her anymore, because this time, she had me. She could finally enjoy her retirement peacefully ahead of time. I smiled and joked with the old lady. "Mom, from now on, just enjoy life. Raise flowers, keep birds, go to beauty salons, get spa treatments, whatever you want. But there's one condition: don't start keeping any puppy boys around. Just looking at them annoys me." My mother smacked me lightly on the head. "You brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Your mother still has dignity, you know." Then she wiped away her tears and hugged me tightly. "My son, it's wonderful that you came back. Everything your mother has done in this life was worth it." Chapter 10. After officially taking over the company, the main thing I focused on was expanding our talent pipeline. The field of AI required massive investment in talent development and long-term team building. Because of that, we partnered with many universities to jointly develop artificial intelligence projects. I provided full scholarships and generous financial support for outstanding students. We donated all of this year's profits to local schools and charitable organizations. The donation amount was enormous and caused a major public reaction across society. At the same time, the company's reputation rose rapidly. The donation ceremony was held at a university, and the local business association also organized an artificial intelligence exchange conference for us. That day, many business leaders, celebrities, and distinguished alumni attended the event. As the company's new leader, I naturally became the core figure of the conference and the center of attention. Standing on stage, I shared research achievements and developments in artificial intelligence from both China and abroad. At the end of my speech, I unexpectedly spotted Juliet in the crowd. Honestly, I didn't recognize her at first. She used to stand tall and elegant, but now her posture was slightly hunched. Her once delicate oval-shaped face had become noticeably fuller, and faint wrinkles had already appeared at the corners of her eyes. She had gained weight and no longer resembled the graceful, wealthy princess from my memories. She was moving through the crowd searching for business opportunities, handing out business cards and promoting her services everywhere. Perhaps I had stared at her for too long, because several business people beside me proactively started discussing her with me. They said that over the past few years, many real estate companies had collapsed. The Kim family's company was one of them. Last year, the Kim family officially declared bankruptcy. Old Master Kim passed away, and Juliet's mother also became seriously ill and was hospitalized. Meanwhile, Juliet's older brother had already transferred away the family assets and fled overseas, hiding abroad ever since. To pay for her mother's medical treatment, Juliet had no choice but to become a real estate agent, returning, ironically enough, to the same industry her family originally built its fortune on. While we were talking, Juliet walked toward us. Originally, she intended to hand me her business card, but the moment she realized it was me, she instinctively wanted to retreat. Then, as if remembering something, she stopped herself and still walked forward. I gestured for my secretary to accept her business card and responded politely. She looked visibly emotional. "Charles, thank you. It's been such a long time. I never imagined that the big figure sharing cutting-edge research today would actually be you," I answered calmly. "Yes, Juliet. It's been a long time." I only wanted to end the conversation as quickly as possible. As though gathering all her courage, Juliet took a deep breath. "Charles, all these years, I've always wanted to see you again. I wanted to personally tell you. I'm sorry." She paused briefly, seemingly searching for the right words. "I'm sorry for all the prejudice I had against you back then. I was narrow-minded and short-sighted. You were right. Love without money really is just a joke. Maybe we were actually the most suitable for each other. It's just that I only understand that now." I deliberately glanced at my watch and impatiently interrupted her. "Juliet, there's no meaning in saying these things now. I'm very busy. If you have business matters to discuss, you can talk to my fiancé instead." Juliet looked slightly stunned, bitterness appearing on her face. "So, you already have a girlfriend. Are you two getting married?" she asked carefully. I answered indifferently. "That's our private matter. Outsiders don't need to concern themselves with it." Juliet froze awkwardly in place. I lifted my foot, preparing to leave. Suddenly, Juliet stopped me. Her voice trembled with tears as she asked, "Charles, back in high school, did you really love me before?" Then she forced out a bitter smile. "You know, the day you left for America, I had a dream. In that dream, we got married, but I wasn't a good wife. For the sake of another man, I hurt you deeply." Her eyes reddened as she continued softly, "Charles, if that dream was real, could you give me another chance?" My heart trembled slightly. The dream she spoke of was the unbearable past life we once shared. For her, it was merely a dream, but for me, it was a scar that could never disappear. I replied coldly, "Juliet, no matter what you dreamed about, the past is already gone. We're adults now. We should learn to face reality and keep at least a little dignity." Then I strode away without looking back, leaving Juliet crouched there alone. She cried loudly behind me, sobbing like a helpless child. As I walked out of the venue, a cool breeze drifted past me, scattering away the lingering shadows of the past. My fiancée had been waiting for me in the car the entire time. The moment I approached, she immediately jumped out of the car and wrapped me in a passionate kiss. In her heart, in her eyes, in her entire world, there was only me, and the coldness inside my heart had long since been melted away by her warmth and love. In the future, both of us would become brand new, better versions of ourselves.